go. Okay, I started recording. It is April 18th, 2023, and this is the Nephew SIG Automation Workload Cluster Subproject. So in the meeting today, so we had quite a lot to talk about last time because we had Denise's first stab at code for the UPF controller, but I know that we've had some busy bees working on the other network functions. And we have we have you here. I wonder if anybody else would like to make a progress report.
Viresh and I are working on SMF, and Ronak and Vishal are working on AMF. And late last week, we had a change of definitions for the CRD, the way we map some of the fields for the interfaces. So Stephen, I don't know if he's on, wrote up a short document last night, and we're trying to, at least I'm trying to remap the controller interfaces, the way we get the information from the CRD into the SMF deployment reconciler struct, the SMF deployment struct and SMF deployments reconciler. I'm hoping to get that done today and see if I can generate a proper CRD for deployment and see if I can run that through and get it to deploy a pod.
Okay, that's wonderful. Is this a document you can share with us to look at, or is it really an internal for you guys just to work?
It's one of the issues, issue number 10 in 3.5GC repo, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I was going to say it's issue number 10, and the link, I can post the link in the chat. Give me a sec.
Sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, if it is an issue, can you please also put a comment on the issue with the doc link so that we can access it?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, I should be able to.
It is 86 and 88. The one me and I'm working.
Yeah, the doc is not complete. There are questions that Stephen has that we need to discuss with Vim once he's available per his comment in Slack.
It's not in Nephew project. I think it's in 3.5GC project.
I see. I
have shared you in the Slack.
Thank you. Oh, in Slack. Okay. Sorry. Too many chat locations.
Viresh.
Thanks, Viresh. Sorry, now you can all see my...
We can see.
Oh, it's a pull request, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a pull request.
I see. The documentation is added to the actual repository. Okay. So it's already been approved.
We need to review. Stephen is asking for our review. Yeah, we will go through.
There's a list of reviewers. I think it's pre-approved, I think.
Okay, okay. I saw this coming in and I was confused about what this was about. All right. I see. Okay, so you want the design document inside the repo itself, not as a Google Doc, because this will be, okay, yeah. I understand.
Yeah, my issue right now is I've written operator before, but I don't have the network function, the CNF mapping, understanding necessary to fill out the details. I mean, I have a reconcile loop and I have a setup with manager loop function call, but I don't know all the details of how N4 map to interface map to whatever they decided late last week. And that's where I'm stuck. I left a message for Stephen.
Okay.
So that's the status.
Well, I don't know if I think other people can help you here too, but.
Yeah, I was hoping to pick Viresh or Denny brain after the call.
Right. I mean, here I'm looking at Denise's code for the UPF, and we can see what he did there in terms of mapping.
It's in config map.
Yeah, that's the part. Before it wasn't config map, it was directly from
Oh, I see. We're
types.
moving to this config. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's like, oh wow, this is new wrinkle. So
Okay,
maybe so if we have time after this or later tonight, we can get on a call, Denny.
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Okay. I think what I'm going to do is link this to the parent issue here because it has to do with designing all of these. All right. Okay, at least we have some connection. Okay, I wonder if I can help at all. I know I haven't been involved in the document itself, but
Sure. I mean, I'll take any help I can get. I'm not picky. As long as it's the right mapping, because apparently Denny, Vim, and Steven work out some config map approach that we need to follow.
okay, yeah, here it is, the config map.
So now we have.
Why do we need a config map separately? Okay, I wasn't involved in the discussion, but it sounds a little weird to me.
So
but,
basically, we need a file to be present inside the container. We discussed it last week, and that file is used as a configuration for 35GC code itself. So you propose to build it inside the container somehow and like exclude it like from config map, as far as I remember, but it has not been done yet.
So, but the idea, I hope, is that the operator creates the config map, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. That's a correct way to work. I misunderstood. I thought that actually the CRDs were coming with config maps.
No. We create a controller itself creates a config map. It's just if you remember, there was wrapper.sh and some another file which you did not understand what it is.
Okay. Yeah, and here we're not. So far, we don't have. Yeah, we are using in the UPF code a config map as well, right?
Yeah.
Here it is. We're generating it. Okay, but this is changing. The format is changing.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm waiting like for, there is a PR from Vim in API repo, where he has provided IMF, SMF, and UPF types, right? Once that is merged, then let's say myself, I'm going to use those types and update config maps, and because names will be different there. So I will have to iterate through the different structures.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my problem last night too. I look at the UPF config CFG and I try to mimic it for SMF CFG, but then I wasn't sure where the N4 interface or the N11 interface and the SBI interface would map to. And I retro Stephen doc. I raised the flag with Stephen in the Slack, and then I retro his doc, but I'm still fuzzy.
Where it is going to map to, I think we can find out like a config map output of the like Helm template from Orange Helm charts. So they will give you exact config map and the values like inside the text strings itself. So you will see there N4 and 11 SBI because they're named there, right?
Yeah.
So you can use that as an example of what you need to have, and then like work backwards right to the code which is going to generate that string. So this is at least my approach. Like would be.
Oh, okay. I'll try that between after this call and before we talk and see how far I get. The other question, if we have one more really quick question, I don't want to hog all the time.
Go ahead. Yeah.
God, I'm trying to wake up and think. Never mind. I'll come back to it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So
just
yeah,
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
No, go ahead, Vish. Go ahead.
So, and two, there's one action item that you and I have issue for writing unit tests. Let me know when you want me to, when we can sync up on that. I know you're busy and it might not be the top priority, but feel free to ping me. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna, as soon as I can write the get NAD, get config, and create free the SMF deployment. Once I get those functions in place, then I'll ping you for unit tests.
Thank you.
Can we quickly touch regarding that, like unit tests? So like we have in UPF and I guess in SMF and IMF there will be some helper functions which are easy to test. But whenever we are like using some kind of reconciler method, then it becomes more difficult to write tests. Because we need an API in order to actually create CRD. And with Steven, what we discussed that for the time being, we are not going to test these functions. We are going to test them once we have some functional integration test environment.
Yeah, so we for unit tests, either you mock a lot of things, which probably isn't worthwhile, or probably what's probably more useful would be creating functional tests once we have a test environment for you to test it. I mean, actually, practically speaking, if you don't want to spin up the entire UPF, but it's just testing reconciliation functions, you can do proud, not proud. You have proud dump it onto a kind and then try it out, which would be quote unquote unit test. But then if not, well, alternatively you can mock things if you really want that to be tested. I guess it's the reconciliation loop itself is not really that much, so I'm not sure if we really care that much about that test coverage, because the core logics are the helper functions that they invoke. So
yeah, so when I wrote this, like if I tell if you can go, so I basically wrote here just standard tests for those helper functions, right? What I want, what I have, I compare them, but I don't touch reconciliation loops. And my question, is it correct approach, is it not correct approach, or I need to use this that suite underscore test and do something like, well, like normal, like in Kubernetes. I see a lot of files, they have different approach, right? There is like a function which expects something, but I don't know where it is being tested.
Actually, I can take a look at the PR and try to see how we can help you.
Yeah, so usually unit tests is there's a behavior defined when your tests you compare you test against something within your code, hopefully a function, and then coming back and compare the output to see an expected output, right? So if you do that, that's pretty good unit test.
This is what I did exactly. But I don't know, Tal, you wrote a lot of unit tests for this stuff. So what is the correct approach?
So it's true that our reconciliation loop is simple right now, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a test for it. So I agree with you, Denny, that because the reconciliation loop should not be that simple, actually. If we, in the future, we're hoping to have proper day 2 changes, right? So proper means we prefer, for example, what happens if you need to change the config map, right? So changing config maps in Kubernetes will not automatically restart pods, right? So pods use the config map first, but if you change the config map, now you have to, say, bump the version of a deployment in order for it to restart the pods. So there's a bit of song and dance involved, right, for day 2. Day 1 is pretty straightforward, but day 2 would be more complex. So I do think that we should be testing the reconciliation loop, even if there's not a lot for it to do right now. If anything, just as a sanity test to see that we're giving it an input and making sure that it's generating the proper config map, say, that we're expecting. The config map, obviously, is the more complicated one, right? The deployment resource is pretty trivial, but we want to make sure that the config map is correct.
So I have 2 questions here. So like, can you give an example of such a test for reconciliation loop would be like in order to run the test, do we need API or Kubernetes environment for that
Yeah,
stuff?
all of my examples do not use QBuilder. So, but I wonder, doesn't QBuilder, if I remember correctly, doesn't it generate tests for you? Like at least the scaffolding for tests?
It generates if you go out like of this like files just to the folder like this controller, there is suite
Yeah, that
suite
one.
Oh,
test
suite
and that's
test.
it. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's just
Okay. Oh, that's all it does.
Yeah.
Okay, that's disappointing. I thought it did more.
So
Well, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, then I mean, so I have not written tests in this particular scenarios, but for unit tests, you should not be requiring anything other than your code itself. For example, if, I understand what you mean, the API server and all. I'm pretty sure if at all those scenarios are covered in the actual Kubernetes itself, they would have written mocks for it,
Right,
mock API server. So I think that's what that could be used here.
Oh,
But
yeah,
you should not-
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, you should not be requiring anything other than your code. You should not be requiring the actual environment for your unit testing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That I thought that was obvious. Yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of testing, just the reconciliation loop, we do not need, all we need to make sure is that the inputs and outputs are the same. There will be integration tests as well, but yes, obviously those are different. So we just really want to test that this function works. So we could absolutely mock everything, right? So give it a request and make sure that it actually generates what we want to generate. And yeah, mocking should be enough for that. So I think QBuilder, maybe, I do think it includes mocks of everything. Am I wrong?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is disappointing. I haven't used QBuilder since once I basically tried and I was disappointed with it. But I remember it generating so much code for me. So I guess it doesn't generate that much useful stuff. But okay.
Yeah. If you need any help with mocking that I've done in the past, at least I can walk through that to see if it helps.
Please.
Because,
yeah. So if you
what my method was. Yeah.
No,
if you can
the
arrange a
reconcile.
separate meeting for this, it would be really nice.
Okay.
Sorry, the reconcile loop. Yeah, you can mock it, but I think what I was gonna try is once Denny has UPF ready and I have SMF ready, I'm gonna try to bring both up on my local plus kind cluster and see what happened. It's like pre-integration function test.
But
The
we
mock
don't
is
want
easy.
that. We don't want kind here. I mean,
Yeah, I
like
know,
because
but
like it's locally for you, but then once it's a pro, we also need to have a kind there, right?
oh yeah, I'm not gonna try to replicate what Prowl is doing and I just want to make sure that, if I check in SMF deployment, that it's gonna work. At least at
Okay.
a single standalone version of it.
Like an end-to-end test.
Not an end-to-end, just bring up SMF. And then bring up UPF.
Just for your own internal development. You don't mean actual like to create tests based on kind.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you don't want to check in code that doesn't work for an open source project. That'd be embarrassing.
Absolutely. Okay, good. But an interesting point did come up here. If we are doing test cases for the reconcile loop inside with mocking, these test cases could be shared with the complete end-to-end test. The integration test, right? Because
Yeah.
we are basically simulating a real environment. So it might make sense to make some sort of folder with some data for test cases, something like that. These are the inputs, these are the outputs. So we can check them with mock. And when we do integration tests, we can run those same scenarios basically with a real cluster.
You just want us to do more testing.
I'm
joking.
Well, it's up to our appetite. I'm definitely not a taskmaster here. I'm not forcing anybody to do what they don't want. As I keep
That's
saying, it could
easy.
be just a placeholder. I think it's
Yeah.
even if we just have a single scenario, just as a sanity test, but at least we have that place in the code. So let's say for Nefio R2, we want to beef up our test so we can just add more scenarios, but we don't have to create the whole plumbing to do it, right?
No, no,
So,
I totally agree. I'm just teasing you.
okay. All right.
So
Well,
I put a link actually, just one the quick search how to mock the API client. No, it's on the
oh, okay.
chat. Yeah, I didn't want you to switch.
Okay.
Well, that I do like for that,
Yeah.
but like for me it's not clear because I need to create a reconciler, right? So that R object which we have, and then call that reconciler method, and this is where I don't really understand how to what to create.
Do you mean the request, the context that you're passing in?
Yeah, well, no, how to create a context or request itself, I understand. But
Okay.
in the reconcile function, it's an interface for or method for that R object reconciler. I don't remember exactly.
No,
So,
I mean, if you test reconcilers, you're testing either whether you can watch something and get notified, or you are testing whether or not you can create. I don't know if it's for now anyway. For R1 for the current implementation, it really isn't that much value of testing that.
Mhm.
You're inside. You're doing a create call, a update call, or you're waking up out of reconcile. In which case, with a unit test, you basically just directly invoke reconcile as a simulation anyway, right? So you're not testing watching a resource, obviously. But then if you're testing create and update, as Vala said, and we're mocking them, so you're testing the mock. You're not really testing much. So I mean,
No,
yeah,
I mean, no, you're not
sure.
testing the mock.
If we do a lot more in the future, then perhaps it's worthwhile. I'm just not actually sure this is actually, for now, this is actually worthwhile.
No, using the mock enables you to test that function. So
That's
you're
what you're not. No,
testing
so that's how it's structured. The reconcile takes the update watches, the results of the watch, and then call functions to construct different resources, and then they either call create or update on that resource. So if you're testing that, you are in a way you're testing the get, the creates, the update, which are mocks in the test.
yeah, this is what I do. This is in the test itself. But what I don't do is calling reconcile itself, this function which right now is being shown.
Yeah.
Because I need exactly. I need to create this.
Right. Sorry, I interrupted you. What did you say?
No. Well, I need to create this UPF deployment reconciler object, right? Okay.
That's the one we have to mock. So I know internally it references the controller.
That one is created on main.go.
Well, I'm absolutely sure that I've seen code that does this, so we can find it.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, if it does more, obviously it should
right,
be.
right.
But then I don't know if it's like if it's a lot of work to mock a lot of things. Just basically at the end we just test the mock. Then that's not actually. The reconciler definitions is actually on the top of the controller itself.
Okay. Well, we don't have to dive too deep into this now, but it's let's. I guess we've kind of decided to use the same Ginkgo testing framework just by default, right? So right, and I think it also suggests to use a certain mock library, or maybe it doesn't.
Go Omega.
There's no mock.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So this is mock would be just regular libraries that we use. Yeah.
If you decide to use that Ginkgo and anybody has experience with that stuff, that would be nice to share.
I do think there's a mock library that's used a lot with Ginkgo.
Yes, yes, Ginkgo comes with a mock library, and then there is also mocking you could do using the other testing too.
Okay.
The Ginkgo comes with actually, you're right. If I remember correctly, it comes with a native mock library.
Okay, maybe that will be good enough. I've seen people use other libraries. There's GoMock, there's GMock, there are a whole bunch of them. But maybe this is worth creating a new issue, maybe for SIG 3 to explore mocking libraries. I don't know. What do you think? Should I create an issue for it?
Mocking, I think I think the decision is it could be either the native Go testing. I think we are seeing the combination of test frameworks. So I think it's up to the unit tester, I believe, which I think at this point of time, I'm seeing two things, Tom. One is the Ginkgo, which is came soon, and the other one is the native testing as well. That's what's being used, at least in the SIG specialization a lot, the package specialization. So I, I have a feeling that between these two frameworks, whatever the developers are comfortable with, they will use that.
Okay, let's maybe start with that, but I think it would be a good idea to have a uniform libraries, right? Although it is true that the workload cluster mocking needs to be, we have different needs than, say, writing kept functions, right? Because we absolutely need to mock like the Kubernetes client, etc., which is far richer, right? Which leads us to the article that you linked us. By the way, which mocking library do they use here, if at all?
So I'm not seeing a lot of mocking in the test that I've seen, at least.
Okay, I see no mocking library. Yeah.
So
oh, actually, so yeah, this is what I thought.
You're talking about SIG specialization, right? You're talking about SIG specialization, right? Oh, I thought. Are you asking about just the link I pasted?
Oh, I'm asking about both. I'm just pointing out that we have different needs. So I am seeing here, okay, this is what I thought. I thought it was in KubeBuilder, but actually inside the Kubernetes Go client code, there is a package called Fake, which has mock versions of everything. So
yeah, we have not used mock in specialization yet, to Bala's point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they might not need mock at all, right?
So far, yes. For the unit functions, which are like library functions, there's no dependency, that needs to be mocked.
So I guess I'm hoping that we could also get away without using a mocking library for testing the reconcile loop. So, because if
Steven posted some stuff in the Slack that help you create this reconcile.
So I put one more link, actually. I put two.
No, Bala did. Bala linked something onto the slide.
Okay, and so
no, I'm sorry. In the chat here, not Slack. Sorry.
Okay.
No. So that's Danny's questions. He was asking where do we instantiate the reconciler? It's instantiated in Mindago.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I just want to point him to the code.
Thank you.
But I mean, instead of spending a lot of time discussing this here, I like to take a chance to have a chance to explore it in the code and then come back with, with the doing that and then coming back with something before we declare how to do it. And with the understanding that the guidance is to use native as much as possible before adopting a library.
Okay, that I think that's a good idea. Maybe let's create a special issue for this and assign it to you, so we just know that it's being tracked. Is that okay?
Sure. I guess I'm trying to avoid more issue being.
Oh, well,
no, that's fine.
Don't worry. I think don't consider it more work. Just to track it, so we remember. Let's say next week we talk about it again, so we can see.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just. I'm just feeling a little embarrassed because I didn't think the operator would take this long, and it's been dragging on. So I'm just worried about sprint ending and all that.
Yeah, the mic is faster, actually.
Make your own priorities, right?
So just one point I wanted to, between the two links I pasted, I just did a quick overview. I think we may have some data between the two links I pasted in the Slack.
No, my point is the person who's writing the code should have some flexibility in how they do their testing initially, and then come back with the feedback, and then from there we can figure out which way to go.
Well, you're doing the code, so
yeah, that's why I said that.
Yeah. I'm just highlighting the issue separately because I want whatever results from your research to be visible. That's
okay.
it. Yeah, please don't be stressed about issues.
Oh, I'm
okay.
stressed about everything.
Well, okay.
I'm joking.
All right. So, okay, I think we have a direction there. By the way, I added a new issue from last time we talked about. I think I created issues for all of these. So to build container images, so I created an issue for that. I didn't assign it to anybody quite yet, but if somebody wants to take this, right? So the issue is 126, build container images.
Yeah, quick question. 2 quick questions on container images. We're still using Docker, right? Or we're switching?
Well, that's another question too, right? For SIG release, because we definitely need a container image registry internally for us. I mean, we don't definitely need it. We could use Docker Hub, and I understand that actually with Docker we've got approved as an open source project. So I think we have basically professional level services on Docker Hub. So I think that's what we're using. Stephen, do you remember?
We got approved. We don't know whether or not the action has been taken yet. And even for OSS level, I'm not sure like professional level is the right term. But
yeah, I mean it's by professional level.
But it's better than the free tier. So
yeah.
supposedly it's better than the free tier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a meeting with Linux Foundation folk tomorrow, our kind of weekly sync. So I'll bring it up and see what the situation is. If we can start using that, just so that's where our container images would go. But I don't know the user password, things like that. So we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take this. I feel like this could be something.
And the second question I have on this is, I've started with the operator SDK to do the scaffolding, and I noticed it generate more code, more scaffolding code than the cube builder, including Dockerfile sample and all that. If I take that Dockerfile template and use that, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Because I looked through it and I didn't see any dependency on operator SDK add-on on top of cube builder.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about other stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The issue I think is it's incomplete. We have this wrapper script that we had around it, so that's the only thing. The container image is not just like ready out of the gate. Apparently, we need to do some.
Yeah, I wanted to say about this wrapper script, because you mentioned it should go there, but this wrapper script, it contains some specific information from the config map.
So it should actually be generated by.
Yes, exactly, by the function, because there are some IP addresses. If you see, it creates IP rules for specific addresses, and they are not known before.
So
no, I get the wrapper script. What I was trying to say is the Docker template is the template. You have to add a lot more stuff to it to make it a full Docker file. And as part of that process, I'll be looking at the wrapper script and see how SMF can use it also, or mimic it also. But I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, SMF doesn't have a wrapper script, so you have to worry about the other things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you later on, Stephen, whether or not I need a wrapper script.
You don't need a wrapper, no. So wrapper, in this particular case, is just creating IP routes to route something from it. So UPF it's not like it's supposed to be a router, but then in the case of 3.5GC, it's not typical router because it has no BGP and all that stuff support. So now you created a route to pinch a hole that you know how to route out of an N6. That's basically it. That's what they're doing here.
Yeah. So yeah. I have a feeling that to follow Denis here, the inputs for this script should maybe the script, because it's just bash. Well, it's not even bash, it's a shell here. But the shell script can actually read a value from a directory that is created with a config map, right? It could be that same config map. So the way to inject data into here would be from there, right? So the shell script.
Yeah. So we.
Oh, we already do that?
Yeah. So we're generating config. Well, we're generating a config map before we apply the deployment. So when we get the UPF deployment at the level of the operators, nothing is up yet. There's no one applying anything. So as part of the operators, you generate this config map, which is actually the entry points to spin up, as you can see from line 20. That's where they eventually spin up UPF-D. But then before then, they did some, if you will, preparations of the node. It is a node because, well, it's a container of preparations because the IP tables commands is invoked inside your pod. So they're creating those routes in this network namespace, basically. And then they started UPF afterward.
Yeah, that I got, but the script right now doesn't. It's all hard coded, right?
It is. Well, it's not hard coded. So hard coded, yes. Other than the values, the IP address values. So there's no code inside to intelligently create a shell script that would be doing different stuff.
So I don't think we need to generate the shell script. I think the shell script can take data. So there are two places that we can give it data. One is in our config map, actually, to include something that it will just read. The other is environment vars. So we can actually, in the container here, just give environment vars that it will just use directly. So that's another.
That's possible, but well, that shell script you need to rewrite it to use loops and those environment variables. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you can.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say if you can, split. Well, yeah, you can assign me probably to that, to those containers, building containers. So I know how to do that for UPF right now, and for SMF and MFA, I'm going to talk to folks who are writing that stuff. So what is needed? Yeah.
Okay, I'll assign both of us to it. How's that? We'll work on it together. Okay. Okay, good. Let me try to summarize some things for today. Okay.
Just really quickly, Stephen, the wrapper script is for N6 config and the route, right?
Yeah, this is very specific to UPF. So
Yeah,
in
okay.
SMF's case, the second config map. So the two config maps also, but the two entries and data on the config map also. So,
Yeah,
so one
UE
of them is obviously the actual configurations, and then the other one is the UE routing YAML that that SMF kind of requires to come in. So our understanding, which again, we get that from Orange. So we learn it from them that they need statically, SMF needs to be statically have a map of understanding every hop where everything is supposed to go. So you're creating, this is a Geno B going into this UPF, and then it comes back from this UPF back into the Geno B. So that's yeah, no, I have no idea whether or not. So I have not experimented on can we get rid of this? Can we only do like simple things, that type of stuff? You probably have to like play around with a little bit.
Yeah, I'll do that.
There in that particular one, I think has 2 slices, so it's also very overly complicated for our setup for now.
Yeah, that's why I was confused like late last night when I was attempting to write the reconcile loop and the deployment struct.
Yeah, even the config, one of the CIDR that we give to N6, there's another IP address pool that comes from nowhere. That actually that's not true. So okay, back off. So on Orange setup, there are actually 3 or 4 UPFs. So it's probably some of those IP addresses are over there. Not that's probably. So I think they're all connected to the same SMF.
Yeah, but for R1, we only have 1 UPF. So
I think one of the use case, and Wim can kind of correct me if I'm wrong. One of the use cases to have to add a UPF in the middle.
Oh,
Or
I
did
see.
did we get rid of that already? I'm not so sure. Yeah.
Anyway, my last question for you, Stephen, and Viresh, if you're still on. Do you want to meet later tonight, Pacific time? Give me time today to work on this, and then.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, tonight's fine. I can do it.
Okay, cool. We'll take it up on Slack. Thanks.
Okay.
Tal, can you please add also into the list of what we discussed? So, like, we have an issue in API repository for appliances, like checking in UPF, IMF, and SMF types. Like it's blocking us, so we need to have it resolved. It's I guess there are not so many things.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
the CL from them.
Yes,
so
exactly.
yeah,
So
I responded to one comment yesterday, so I don't know how many more pending comments. I guess Vim can comment on that too. Vim can comment on the comments.
Yeah, that's a complicated.
So I am. You me? Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I go to the general conditions. So in my view, all comments are addressed, right? I also added the deep copy generation in it because deep copy. So I don't know who else has to approve it because the comments came from John basically. But for me, it's done. I mean, I this morning I fixed, I updated based on your comment that we use the general meta condition.
Yeah, just general, just the general one for now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I changed.
I can
give you
an approve.
Yeah, if someone would approve other than than me, then I think it will merge.
Okay. I'll give my approval.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, actually, many people are waiting for that. Arwen was telling me that he's waiting for it too. So it is a pretty big blocker for
Yeah,
a lot
all of us need types.
Yeah, and once it is merged, you can probably close bunch of issues here because there are a lot of in progress where we are assigned to check in with these types. And and then here I'm going to remove this UPF deployment types. I'm going to point to the Z API.
Yeah,
this is where I'm blocking.
Have you, Dennis? Have you made the code changes to adapt to the new UPF deployment?
No, so this is what I'm waiting, right? So that API, then I'm going to very quickly try to figure out how to change it.
By the way, Tal, maybe I don't know whether you have looked to that spec, but it has this reference to another object in it. So I don't know whether you looked to the spec, but you remember the deployment spec for the NF types. We wanted to have this.
Yeah, I wanted it to include both.
Way to.
Yes,
so in there, so maybe it would. Yeah.
I wanted it to include everything, right? So it's true, you know, the deep copy does use, right, API machinery. Right,
yeah, just I added in the make file that was there. I added the controller gem that does it. So that's the only thing that I did, right? Maybe we should have done it to another PR, but I said, why open yet another one because we'll need it anyhow from the beginning. So I added it. And then, but what I wanted you to look at, Tal, is the reference to an additional CR that is referenced from that deployment. You remember?
I remember a conversation. I don't know where it is. Maybe you could. We can offline. Maybe send me a link and we can discuss. How's that?
Okay. Yeah. So that's the only thing that I wanted. Yeah. Maybe it's good to have you have a look at this to see whether you're fine with that.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, basically, what I wanted is both of these, right? I know we only discussed deep copy, but I was like, why not also have everything that we need to add the types in, right? So basically, this whole library should, you know, this whole directory should disappear, right? Including the, So, yeah.
The group version is there, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe everything is there already. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely take a look. And yeah, we can do a future PR as well to add something. It's
For
not like
sure, yeah, sure. I'm just saying, if we are going to approve it and we are building upon it, maybe it's good to just have a quick look at it.
Yeah,
I don't think it will take too much time, but okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, let's see if there's anything else worth any issue else worth raising in our context here in the meeting.
I have a question regarding image config. So I pushed PR. It was reviewed by Steven and by John. So there are some comments from John. So I guess we can. I need to ping John probably to resolve it.
Yeah,
He's
So
on
John is on
vacation. He's on
vacation.
vacation this week. Yeah.
Yeah, just so you know.
Okay, so well, that's next week. But once I have that image config, right, so I can create a custom resource, and then I will be able to use pass from that resource to pick up.
Yeah,
image
actually,
for VPF.
yeah. So you put that on main.go, and probably want to share that with the other AMF and SMF members
Yes,
here,
that will be
because
shared.
they'll
So
probably they probably need the same thing.
yeah, it creates like one image config. It contains it's a map, right? It has image for UPF, SMF, and AMF.
Okay.
And then I will write this watch for that image config stuff.
Why are you saying it would be in main.go, Stephen?
The reconciler and the controller needs to be instantiated on main.go.
So you want to instantiate the reconciler already with that image config?
No, the controller needs to be launched as part of me. So they're all the same operator, right? In this case.
Is it, or have we decided that it's one operator for everything?
For now, yeah. I mean, unless we suddenly have to change that again.
I think that's what even I thought too. Like one.
Yeah, I
operator.
mean, it's I think we
Okay.
talked about that like a while back, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, so just one operator with many controllers created. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
because
yeah.
that's what I'm writing to. So if you got changed, let me know.
Yeah, it's entirely a code organization issue. If you want to divide it into, it's not a problem to just generate. I mean, the controller code is just wrapped in a controller, right? So the main,
No,
it's not an issue to change that if we want to.
Yeah. But I just want to go with the main flow, whichever way you guys decide, one operator, three controller, or three operators.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I think
Let's do it for now.
Okay,
Yeah.
one operator.
Yeah. Oh, here actually, I just realized this is not build. Not the operator. I mean the 35GC. Okay, sorry, just the title was wrong. Okay. All right. Any other blockers for anybody needing to discuss?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
There's like a subgroup that SMF and AMF that tend to meet in the evening, and we have like a small group chat. We started as a conversation on Slack, so if anybody else here want to join, post it in SIG Auto Workload, and we'll add you to the Zoom. Because some people is like, oh, we didn't realize you guys were doing this, and I'm like, oh, sorry.
Are you?
No, totally
Are
cool.
you?
We can do that too. We should move the conversation to SIG Auto Workload channel.
Yeah, I didn't
Sure.
intend. We didn't intend it to be private conversation. We just started
Yeah.
by me asking question, and then it devolved into that.
I was
If-
just offended. I thought the cool kids were meeting and they didn't want to invite me.
Yeah, we had secret wine and tasting and everything
Are you using your private Zoom on too?
on one or two of those, because it started out with me, Virash, and Ronak or Vishal, and then Stephen Joy, and then Vim Joy, and I don't have a preference either way.
No, it's fine. I do not have to
Well,
involve
the
myself.
the last couple of times we used the official one, so that
Yeah.
if we record it will be on YouTube.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to ask, because yeah, if you could record it, it'd be great, because It's just probably
Yeah,
doesn't work so well for us in our time zone, or for me, any.
Yeah, no, I
Mm.
posted the recording in SIG Auto Workload last time.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks.
And the other session were recorded via the official Zoom, so it should be on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
Have and
Thank you.
feel. This is simple. And if you have anything small, let me know, because I told us earlier I'm new to Kubernetes and so let's go. So if you have any small work items you want to complete, shoot at me. I can make a shot at it.
I'll trade you some work if you tutor me in Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic, definitely yes. I can contribute anytime because that is my forte. So that
Yeah,
is not a
no.
problem for Sonic. For this area, I'm completely new. So if you have any task which is very small, that's why I signed up for. I would like to learn. Let me know. I can contribute in that area.
Are you available in the evening Pacific time?
Evening Pacific time is most convenient time because I couldn't join. The morning is all completely packed with Dell meetings.
Yeah, I'll
That's
include
when-
you in the invite, and then feel free to join us if you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
That's great. Thank you guys for organizing that. But I wanted to make one small note from last week. So last week we kind of did a group review of Denis' first kind of stab at the code, and we made a lot of comments and things that could improve. I was thinking of creating issues from all of them, but then when I started actually working on it, I decided that I wanted to wait until the dust settled, right? Because I feel like still a lot of things are kind of in flux regarding the CR and the config map, the wrapper, etc. So yeah, it's written down, right? It's here in our notes, so we're not going to forget this. But I didn't create issues quite yet. Let's let the dust settle. Let's let the SMF code come in, and when it starts unified, we can look into cleaning up the whole code. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, it does, for sure.
Yeah, it's
Because,
not
yeah.
urgent, right? We have something working. It could be better, but whatever. We'll fix it later once we start getting more meat on the bones.
I think the only thing which you can create for sure is aligning with APIs from package specialization. This is what Vim pushed, and I'm going to update UTF. That's for sure. You can create an issue. It makes sense. Other ones, they will be resolved themselves because I'm going to, for example, remove analyzers as well. So that's
okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, all of these don't have to be separate issues. They're basically included in the main development issue. Yeah, which is ongoing.
There's also the whole reason of the code are probably pretty replicated in many places.
Right,
so,
right.
Across the three NFs. So,
well, I imagine we're going to
always wanted us to write functions.
Oh, come on, guys. I don't know about you guys, but Denny's and Code and Mai are perfect.
Without a doubt. But there's always higher levels of perfection.
And one thing I would suggest is if it is part of the main development, right? But we can add these notes to the existing issues so that it will be part of that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, because I think there is one development task for UPF. Probably if you want to add it there, you can do that. Or if you want to create a separate issue, we can do that as well.
No, I'm in favor of not creating extra issues if they already fit into existing ones. But it's up to you, Bell. Actually, you're the taskmaster, so.
No. I'm just suggesting. So. UPF deployment.
Yeah, check into Nephio project. Well, we have a few actually issues already for UPF. Well, again, you know what? I'm kind of like they're already recorded here. Here's my thought that we might actually have several, not several, but more than one cleanup phases, right? Because it's in flux and we have a few different controllers, different people working on them. So the closer we get to uniformity, right, we'll do maybe special PRs just to make things uniform, right, between different coding styles a little bit, etc. So I'm not worrying about that too much right now. in my view, every commit does not have to be perfect, right? It's not like we're reviewing every commit for code style, etc., and making sure that it's great. So we'll have rounds in the future, I think, about unifying the code base and maybe cleaning up and things like that. So I just don't want to slow anybody down in terms of development at this point, if that makes sense.
I'm just afraid you'll laugh at my code.
I absolutely promise, I swear that I will absolutely never laugh at anybody's code.
I'm joking.
And if I do, you can show me some of my early commits to some code and laugh back at me. So, okay, I think we're just at the top of the hour. I want to thank everybody for really great progress, and these extra nighttime meetings seems like they've been very productive. So terrific. And yeah, we'll meet again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Before we hang up, Stephen, when 9 o'clock my time?
Yeah, let me set up using the official
Yeah,
account
okay,
so we can
cool,
we
thanks.
can roll it into YouTube. Yeah.
And include Santi for his request.
Yeah, I'll post the Zoom
Okay,
link
thanks.
on Workload, auto Workload. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, thanks
Cool.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Time to go.